Time for convening having arrived. The Senate will come to order. Would ask unauthorized visitors to exit the chamber at this time, and the Senate will come to order. Chair recognizes the senator from the 7th, the Distinguished Regulated Industries Committee Chairman.
President, the journal has been read and found to be correct.
Thank you, Senator, for your good works on the journal. Is there objection to dispensing with the reading of the journal? The reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there objection to confirmation of the journal? The chair is none, and the journal is confirmed. All senators having bills and resolutions to introduce, please bring them to the Secretary's desk at this time. First reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions.
Senate Bill 4 by Senator Gucher, the 51st, and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 61 of Title 36.
Economic Development.
Senate Bill 5 by Senator Cowser, the 46th, and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code
Economic
Section.
Development.
Senate Bill 66 by Senator Jackson of the 2nd, and others, a bill
Health
to be entitled.
and Human Services.
Senate Bill 67 by Senator Jones of the 10th, and others, a bill to be entitled an act
Public
to amend.
Safety.
Senate Bill 68 by Senator Jones of the 10th, and others, a bill to be entitled an
Public
act to amend.
Safety.
Senate Bill 69 by Senator Hill of the 32nd and others, a bill to be entitled
Veterans
an
and
act to amend.
Military.
Senate Bill 70 by Senator Hill of the 32nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend.
Public
Code
Safety.
Section. Senate Bill 71 by Senator James of the 35th and others, a bill to be entitled.
Public Safety.
Senate Bill 72 by Senator Mullis of the 53rd and others, a bill to be
Public
entitled.
Safety.
Senate Bill 73 by Senator Henson of the 41st and others, a bill to be
Public
entitled.
Safety.
Senate Bill 74 by Senator Hill of the 32nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to
Finance.
amend. Senate Resolution 113 by Senator Hill of the 32nd and others, a resolution creating.
Economic Development.
Senate Resolution 114 by Senator Hill of the 32nd and others.
Economic Development.
Senate Resolution 119 by Senator James of the 35th and others, a resolution.
Public Safety.
Mr. President, this completes the order. Excuse me,
Yep.
I'm sorry, sir.
One more.
Senate Resolution 123 by Senator Tate of the 38th and others, a resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution.
Government Oversight.
Mr. President, this completes the order.
First reading and reference of House bills.
House Bill 75 by Representative Ralston of the 7th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an to be entitled an act to be entitled an amend an act making and providing appropriations for the state fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2014 and ending June 30th, 2015, known as the General Appropriations Act, Act number 632, and approved April 28th, 2014. So as to make, provide, and change.
Appropriations.
Mr. President, this completes the order.
First reading or committee reports. Clerk will read.
Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Health and Human Services has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report back the same to the Senate with the following recommendation. That Senate Bill 53 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Unterman of the 45th District Chairman. Mr. President, this completes the order.
Clerk will read the bills for the second time.
Senate Bill 2 by Senator Tippins of the 37th and others, education. Student who completes certain requirements relating to post-secondary coursework awarded a high school diploma. Mr. President, this completes the order.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 4th.
President, I ask unanimous consent to dispense with the morning roll call.
Is there objection? Without objection, the morning roll call will be suspended. It is now time for the morning devotion. Time for the morning devotion. Would ask that all senators please take your seats and cease all audible conversation as we prepare our chamber for the morning devotion. It is now my distinct honor and privilege to recognize the Distinguished Rules Committee Chairman, the Senator from the 53rd, for the purpose of leading us in our pledge and introducing our chaplain of the day. Senator.
Thank you. If you join me in honoring our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And let's honor our state. I pledge allegiance to the principles for which it stands, wisdom, justice, and moderation. Good morning, colleagues. I hope you had a great Super Bowl weekend. It is my pleasure to introduce a friend of mine. Jay Neal was elected to the Georgia House of Representatives in 2004 and served until being appointed by Governor Deal to serve as the Executive Director for the Governor's Office of Transition, Support, and Reentry in November of 2013. In 2011, Representative Neal authored House Bill 265 establishing the Special Counsel on Criminal Justice Reform for Georgians, which has led to criminal justice reform for adults and juveniles. Representative Neal has shared the story of criminal justice reform in Georgia all over the country and received a lot of awards and other things to help promote what we're doing in the state of Georgia. Representative Neal joined Penfield Christian Homes in 2009 and served as campus director of the North Campus until until November 1, 2013. Prior to his employment with Penfield, Representative Neal was a partner in Weicker Realtor, thank you, and First Choice Realtor, and served 25 years as bivocational pastor. Jay is a strong and involved community leader and is involved in many organizations in our community. Jay is married to Gretchen and has 2 daughters and several grandchildren. And on a personal note, you have your political partners, and Jay was an outstanding one for me in Northwest Georgia. But you know how you do when you're having to recruit somebody to run for office. You tell them things like, it's a part-time position, you'll never be away from home, you're at home every night with your wife and family, and you're rarely in Atlanta. So I certainly hope he forgives me for misleading him when I recruited him. But he's a great friend, and please give your attention to Representative Jay Neal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Governor Cagle, for the invitation to come and share a brief devotion with the Georgia Senate today. And Senator, I do forgive you. As a matter of fact, I thank you, not only for being my senator, but for being a political mentor. And quite frankly, if you'd have told me the truth, I may not have ran. And I am certainly thankful that I did. So thank you so much. More importantly, thank you for being my friend. I appreciate that so much. It's an honor for me to be with you today, an honor that I would have never dreamed would have been available to me, and to be able to look out and see so many that I have served with over the years, some across the aisle, and some of you from your days in the House before joining this body. I served for 9 years in the House of Representatives, and that experience allows me to know better than most who come before you as chaplain the heart that you have to serve the people of your district. And I applaud you for being willing to be a true public servant. I know firsthand the difficult decisions that you must make. I know sometimes you have to say no to the good in the interest of the best. And I know that the Monday morning quarterbacks second guess those decisions on a regular basis, especially if they were a proponent of the good that you had to say no to. They tend to look for ways to criticize you for making those decisions based on your own personal gain. I understand all of those things. I've been there and I've experienced that as well. I also know that sometimes we get more credit than we deserve for good things that happen within our state and within our district, but we always get too much blame for things that happen, difficulties or problems that may arise. We may not always agree philosophically. I understand that. But I also learned in my 9 years in the State House that while I did not always agree with Kathy Ash and Mary Margaret Oliver, who sat beside me in the House, I appreciated the heart that they had and knew that they had the same interest in making Georgia a better place to live. And here in this chamber, I know that you all come with the same purpose in mind, to do everything that you can to make Georgia a better place. I know that we have clashes sometimes between more conservative ideas and more liberal points of view. I understand that. But we share this common interest in the state of Georgia. I've long held that Georgia had many assets and resources that makes Georgia a great place. And of those resources and assets, the greatest asset Georgia has is her people. And today I have the honor of standing before some of the brightest of those people, the public servants here in the state Senate, and I appreciate that very much. I would be remiss if I did not wish you a happy Groundhog's Day. I'm sure that you had that circled on your calendar and you've been eagerly anticipating today. Most of you have seen the movie by that name and probably shared some laughs as you did. I want to use that just. It's always a great thing as a minister when you can use children's stories or movies or fables to help tell your story or deliver the truth of the message. And I'm going to do that today, a little bit around Groundhog Day, the movie, and Groundhog Day, the events of today. Bill Murray's character in Groundhog Day, as we all know, struggled to leave the past behind. And every morning he woke up and it was the same thing over and over again. I remember when I was running for state representative, I won in 2002, and that election was overthrown by a judge, threw out by a judge, and I had a special election in January of 2003. That election, too, was thrown out, and I had a special election in July of 2003. Ben Fry was intern on that special election, and I remember one evening in particular, I stopped by a fire hall, and there was Representative Snow visiting with the firefighters. And I walked in, and he said, "It's just like Groundhog Day. I wake up every day, and there's the preacher again." Bill Murray had that experience in Groundhog Day. He woke up every day to the same thing. And throughout the movie, he desperately tried to leave that day behind him. Have you ever met somebody that was consumed by the past, had a hard time leaving the past behind them? Whether it's consumed by past failures or past successes, or the heartaches or the hurts of the past, they have a hard time of moving forward. They seem to be stuck in the past, crippled in the past. In Philippians chapter 3, verse 13, Paul encourages, "Brothers, I do not consider that I have made it my own, but one thing I do, forgetting what lies behind and straining forward to what lies ahead." So I challenge you this morning, whatever those things of the past were, good, bad, indifferent, leave them behind, press forward for the things ahead. Elder Holland in the January 2010 Ensign wrote this, "The past is to be learned from but not lived in. We look back to claim the embers from glowing experiences, but not the ashes. And when we've learned what we need to learn and have brought with us the best that we've experienced, then we look ahead and remember that faith is always pointed toward the future. Faith always has to do with the blessings and truths and events that will yet be efficacious in our lives." He then went on to write, "There is something in many of us that particularly fails to forgive." Yes, I do forgive, Senator. "Forgive and forget earlier mistakes in life, either our mistakes or the mistakes of others. It is not good. It is not Christian. It stands in terrible opposition to the grandeur and majesty of the atonement of Christ. To be tied to earlier mistakes is the worst kind of wallowing in the past, from which we are called to cease and desist." So how do we get out of this wallowing in the past? Elder Holland encourages us to remember just enough to avoid repeating the mistakes, and then put the rest of it all on the dung heap. Dismiss the destructive and keep dismissing it until the beauty of the atonement of Christ has revealed to you your bright future. And then he says, God doesn't care nearly as much about where you have been as he does about where you are, and with his help, where you are willing to go. Put the past behind and press forward. We also have to be careful about putting too much emphasis on an uncertain future. This morning, Puxatawny Phil saw his shadow, if I remember correctly. General Beauregard Lee did not, so we don't know. There's so much uncertainty around this forecast of the weather. James chapter 4, verses 13 through 16 has some words of caution concerning the immediate future and putting too much rest in an uncertain future. "Come now, you who say, today or tomorrow we'll go into such and such a town and spend a year there and trade and make profit. Yet you do not know what tomorrow will bring. What is your life? For you are a mist that appears for a little time and vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if the Lord wills, we will live and do this or do that." But unfortunately, we spend too much time speculating over an uncertain future, a temporal near future, a future that we can never be sure of. Jesus instructed us to look at something else in John 5:24. Truly I say to you, whoever hears my word and believes him who sent me has eternal life. He doesn't come to judgment, but has passed from death to life. So rather than looking at the past or being held by the past or even looking to an uncertain near future, we need to look toward this eternal future that we know we have and instead focus on today. Today. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Live for today. Seize the day. And as boldly as I tell you to seize the day, let me offer a word of caution. It's important for you to understand what's expected of us. Too often society tells us that seizing the day means that we're looking out for our own opportunities, that we're looking to advance our cause, that we're looking for personal gain, to climb the corporate ladder or the political ladder, or to elevate our standing among our peers, to try to get ahead. And God made it very clear that's not what He expects of us today. He expects us to leave the past behind and give into an uncertain temporal future, resting in the promise of eternity, ever mindful of what He expects for today. Micah 6:8. He's told you, oh man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? But to do justice, and to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God. Today, let's do justice. Act justly. It means to act with fairness and honesty and integrity. A sense of equality among people. It can be as simple as being honest, even in the smallest, most routine business transaction. He goes on to write in verse 11, complaining about the person who uses dishonest scales with a bag of false weights. There's an old saying that honesty is the best policy, but for Christians, it should be honesty is the only policy. Because of the consistent theme throughout the Scriptures is that we're to be people that are fair in all of our dealings. To love kindness or mercy. The second thing that God requires of us, to fill our hearts with compassion and kindness toward one another. The Hebrew word that Micah uses here is translated as mercy. It's a rich one used variously as mercy, tender mercies, loving kindness, steadfast love. And often it's referred to, speaking of God, as His unexpected kindness toward us. And it says that we're to not just have mercy, but to love mercy. There's a big difference. One way of describing the difference is to say we don't just do acts of kindness because of a sense of obligation or obedience or compulsion. We do them because we love to. And the third thing is walk humbly with your God. Maybe seems like an easy task, but it's quite hard. We tend to be arrogant and proud, and if we're not careful, we find ourselves thinking that God's role is to make us happy, to serve us, to answer our prayers, to help us find fulfillment, when in the reality it's our role to serve Him. I applaud you for your embracing public service. I applaud you for the heart that I know is behind that desire to serve. And I encourage you, don't let the past, successes, failures, hurts, don't let the uncertain future that's near and temporal, don't let them distract you from the eternal future that you have, and ultimately your responsibility today to act justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with your God. Let us pray. Our Father, we thank you today for the privilege we have to bow before you. We're so thankful, Lord, for these, your servants, the men and women of the Georgia Senate. We thank you, Lord, for the service they provide within their districts and the service they provide to this great state. And God, I pray that you would help them, Lord, to focus on today, to be the best they can, acting justly, loving mercy, and walking humbly with you. And God, we just pray that you would help them through their efforts to be a part of making Georgia an even greater place than she already is. And we'll praise you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
I'd like to present the Doctor of the Day, and to do so, I call upon the distinguished senator from the 36th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. I'm so pleased to present to you the Doctor of the Day for our Monday, February 2nd convening. We have a native of New Orleans with us, Melissa Hirsue, a medical doctor, a board-certified anesthesiologist, and assistant professor at Emory University School of Medicine. She currently practices medicine at Grady Memorial Hospital, just down the street from the Gold Dome, as you all know. She plays a critical role as part of Grady's medical team there, and she specializes in regional anesthesia for postoperative pain control and anesthesiology for trauma. We'll hope to introduce her to our doctor members here in the Senate before she goes back to the second floor, and hopefully she won't have to see any of us, but please join me in welcoming Dr. Melissa B. Hirsue.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. It's an honor to be able to do this today, and thank you all for your service to the state of Georgia.
Wonderful. Very good. Very good. All right. Thank you. Let's do a picture. All right. Secretary will read a resolution.
Senate Resolution 86 by Senators Dugan of the 30th and Crane of the 28th. A resolution recognizing February 2nd, 2015 as University of West Georgia Day at the Capitol and for other purposes. Whereas enrollment at the University of West Georgia rose 2.3% for the fall 2014 semester, increasing to 12,206 from the previous record of 11,929 in the fall of 2013. And whereas the Princeton Review ranked West Georgia as one of the 138 best colleges in the Southeast. And whereas the recently released U.S. News and World Report online program ranking rated West Georgia's online graduate computer information technology program 16th in the nation, as well as 4 other West Georgia programs that ranked in the top 100 in the nation, with 2 of them in the top 50. And whereas West Georgia has shaped a new strategic plan, vision, and goals and aspires to be the best comprehensive university in America. And whereas Best of the West, part of the Engage West initiative, recognizes faculty and staff who go above and beyond their daily duties and using campus-wide peer-to-peer submissions, the program will recognize top employees and help develop a culture of recognition and cooperation on campus. And whereas West Georgia celebrated another successful fundraising campaign day in 2014, raising a total of $456,724 from faculty, staff, and community contributions. The faculty and staff contributions reflecting a 9.2% increase in giving from the year prior. And whereas West Georgia was honored by the University System of Georgia with a Bronze Chancellor's Service Excellence Award for Outstanding Institution of the Year and President. And whereas West Georgia was recently named one of the top 31 promising places to work in student affairs by the American College Personnel Association and Diverse Issues in Higher Education. And whereas Dr. Brian Mosier, College of Education Assistant Professor, was named the Georgia College University Physical Education Teacher of the Year and will be awarded at the Shape America Conference in February 2015. Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body do recognize February 2nd, 2015 as University of West Georgia Day at the Capitol. Mr. President, this completes the order.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. We're very proud of the University of West Georgia and all the wonderful things that they're doing for their students and obviously our Georgia residents. They are clearly an esteemed university and almost came back with a national championship, and I'm certain that they will continue to compete year after year within their conference. To speak to the resolution and recognize our very special platform guest, I call upon the distinguished senator from the 30th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, as you've heard, is the University of West Georgia Day. I'm one of those that has the rare good fortune of actually having the school that I graduated from in the district that I represent. My school has gone from a sleepy little campus when I was there in the mid-'80s to a bustling campus of over 12,000 students now. Some of those students are here with us today up in the gallery. If I could get y'all to stand, if y'all would join me and welcome into the Capitol here today. When I was going there, it was UWG was called the best kept secret in education in Georgia. It's obviously not a secret anymore. We're a leader in academics, athletics, and community relations. A great deal of the credit for that success is because of the great leadership team that we have there. The one who put all that leadership team together is my friend and the president of the university, Dr. Kyle Marrero. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Marrero as he offers some remarks.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here today. I'm Kyle Marrero, the 7th president of the University of West Georgia. I've been in Carrollton now a year and 7 months, and I can tell you it is a community that is dedicated to economic development, dedicated to preparing our students for the future. The two things that keep me up at night: have we prepared our students? Are they ready? Are they ready to enter the workforce? And what have I done? What has our institution done to create jobs? Because if we're going to graduate 2,338 students, 2,400 this year, record enrollment, record fundraising, as we move forward, we must make sure that they have jobs so that our economy grows, that the region of West Georgia that you expect great things out of in the future. As I said, we have students here. We have from our political science class, we have students, we have our vice presidents here. We have many people joining us today. I want to thank Mike Crane, our senator. I want to thank Mike Dugan and Governor Casey for his support of University of West Georgia. You're going to hear great things for us. We have Wolfie in the back. As we said, our football team made the semifinals, national semifinals. Our cheerleading squad, our co-ed cheerleading squad, either the co-ed or the girls, have won national championships for 15 years in a row. 15 years in a row, and our debate team is a perennial top 10 in the nation. This is a special university. Just wait to see what we're going to do. As we say, go West, go Wolves. Thank you.
Are there any unanimous consents? Does any senator wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? The chair recognizes Senator from the 39th. Please give the distinguished senator your attention as he rises on a point of personal privilege. The senator from the 39th.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, I rise on a point of personal privilege. I am wearing a pin, a Grady Hospital pin here. Grady Hospital has been around since 1892 and doing great things, dedicated to the mission of providing health services to those who cannot provide services, who cannot be served at other places. And by the way, I asked Grady folk, where do Grady patients come from? And they told me that Grady patients come from at least 175 counties out of Georgia's 180 counties. So it is not just a Fulton County DeKalb institution or regional institution. It is a institution which serves people from all over the state. Whether if you're a burn victim, oftentimes if you're a burn victim, in Augusta or Columbus, oftentimes you find your way where? To Grady eventually. So it's important to the entire state. And that's why I'm concerned about the situation with Blue Cross Blue Shield pushing Grady out of network. There have been negotiations about the contract between Grady and Blue Cross Blue Shield for the last several months. Grady has one position. I'm not going to characterize their position. I would not feel adequate in doing so. But I do know that Grady has said that if you go to Grady, you get reimbursed. Grady gets reimbursed at one rate. If you go to Piedmont Hospital or if you go to Northside Hospital, you get reimbursed at a higher rate. That's not fair. Grady should not be left out, should not be treated that way, should not be treated unfairly. And Blue Cross Blue Shield has a rejoinder to that. They say, well, for most services, we pay the same rate. Grady has made a profit. I don't want one service at Grady to be paid at a lower rate than other hospitals. It's not fair, it's not right, and it shouldn't happen. But let's just say that Blue Cross Blue Shield has a good case to be made, and I'm sure they do have a good case to be made. I don't believe it. I don't believe their position. I think they're wrong. I think they ought to treat Grady differently. But let's just say, for argumentation purposes, Blue Cross Blue Shield does have an argument to be made. Guess what? Put the numbers on the table. Just release the data. Be open and transparent. Let an independent third party look at the numbers. And either Grady is correct or Blue Cross is correct. But we can't have this situation where a hospital by the way, some of y'all know that I have not always been happy with how Grady does things. Periodically, I've disagreed with them. But in this instance, they're what? They're right. And for the 10 million people of Georgia, we need to urge Blue Cross Blue Shield, get back to the table, make a realistic offer. We don't want the disparities to be made up in 1 year, but Blue Cross Blue Shield needs to have a plan and a strategy to treat Grady fairly and make sure that that happens as quickly as possible. Mr. President, members of the Senate, I ask you to be engaged on this issue. Tell Blue Cross Blue Shield, do right, not just by the people of Fulton in DeKalb, but all those people from Cobb County, Clayton County, Gwinnett County that find their way to Grady. People who can't stand up for themselves. People who need someone to look out for them. Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 13th on a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to take this point of personal privilege to recognize a lady who's not here today. Her name's Annette Bowling. Many of you will know Annette. She has been coming to this Capitol since the 70s, advocating for people with disabilities. I spoke with the family this morning. She is in intensive care at Phoebe Putney Hospital. She is on a ventilator. She is a very, very sick lady, and many of you know her because you worked with her over the years. Many of you are like me. You have a lot of admiration for this lady because you know of her integrity. And to be known as a person of integrity for that many years is just incredible. And she is an incredible lady. So the family asked me to share this with you and let you know that they cover your prayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. We will certainly have her and the family in our thoughts and our prayers. The chair recognizes the senator from the 54th on a point of personal privilege. Please give the senator your attention.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, I rise to celebrate something that happened 144 years ago today. Not here, but over at the intersection of Forsyth and Marietta Street, where the General Assembly met in 1870. And on February the 2nd of 1870, Georgia ratified the 15th Amendment to the United States Constitution. As you know, the 15th Amendment prohibits the United States government and the government of any state from discriminating in voting rights on the basis of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. We became the 27th state to ratify that amendment, and one day later, our friends in Iowa became the 28th, thus making that important change to our constitutional document. And I just wanted to celebrate it here on the first day of February that we're together. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the will.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 35th on a point of personal privilege. Please give the distinguished chair lady your attention.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, this is February, the month of, yes, Valentine's love, but I'm here to talk about the month for universal love. And that is where all people come together to recognize Black History Month. It was Carter G. Woodson who took 20 years going before Congress and many other states to ask that African Americans who had been left out of history books be recognized. So they gave Negro History Week, and eventually it changed to Black History Month. So every year during Black History Month, our Georgia Legislative Black Caucus, which is the largest in the nation with 61 members, does not want to be just the largest, but we want to be very effective. But more than anything else, we want to work with everyone, and one day we won't have to have caucuses. But they encourage us to highlight someone in Black history or some event in Black history. So I invite all of you, not just the African Americans, to pick one day to come and use your 3 minutes of personal privilege to speak on some event that changed our history in America, because it's not just Black history, it's history for all of us. And so I hope that each one will indulge the person that comes each day, and it does not have to be an African American. So I invite any of you to please come up and make sure that we use this universal month of love to talk about what happens right here in Georgia and what can continue to happen when we work together as one. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the will.
Thank you, Senator. We have a consent calendar of privilege resolutions that are before you. Is there objection to adoption of the consent calendar of privilege resolutions? The chair hears none, and the privilege resolutions on the consent calendar are therefore adopted. Are there any motions to withdraw or commit? The chair recognizes the majority leader.
President, I move that the Senate stand adjourned until 10 o'clock a.m. on Tuesday, February the 3rd.
Read the announcements.
The 12 p.m. Rules Committee meeting will meet in room 450 of the Capitol upon adjournment. The 1 p.m. Public Safety Committee meeting will meet in room 125 of the Capitol. The 1 p.m. Education and Youth Committee meeting will meet in room 307 of the CLOB. The 1 p.m. Appropriations Higher Education Subcommittee will meet in room 310 of CLOB. The 2 p.m. Government Oversight Committee will meet in room 123 of the Capitol. The 2 p.m. Ethics Committee meeting will meet in room 310 of CLOB. The 2 p.m. Appropriations Insurance Subcommittee meeting will meet in room 307 of CLOB. The 2 p.m. Retirement Committee meeting will be located in room 318 of CLOB. The 3 p.m. Agriculture and Consumer Affairs meeting will meet in room 450 of the Capitol. The 3 p.m. Appropriations Judicial Subcommittee will meet in room 307 of CLOB. The 4 p.m. Transportation Committee will meet in the mezzanine room 1. 4 p.m. Appropriations Human Development Subcommittee will meet in room 341 of the Capitol. Mr. President, this completes the order.
Are there any other announcements? The majority leader has moved that the Senate stand adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, Tuesday, February the 3rd. All of those in favor will say aye. All those opposed, no. Ayes clearly have it. We stand adjourned.